We love this conversation. Larry Krueger in for Dibs, everybody, and we're a little bit over an hour away from another chance for knockout at Chase Center. But here he is, Odyssey NFL insider, Peter King. Hello, Peter. How are you?
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing today?
We're doing fantastic, although the anxiety is definitely going to build because somehow a 4-game losing streak feels a lot different than a 3-game losing streak. Like this feels pivotal with the Niners and Jags coming off the bye. What would you say if I put the word crucial? Like how crucial is this one for the 49ers?
Well, crucial is a little bit strong. It's an important game, but I probably wouldn't call it crucial other than to say you're right, 4-game losing streak. You know, how many teams have ever won a Super Bowl that went on a 4-game losing streak during the year? I'm sure there's some, or 1 or 2 or 3, but it's certainly rare. And especially coming off a bye, it looks like you get Deebo Samuel back. It looks like bookend pass rusher. You know, I'm reminded when the Niners got Chase Young, I'm sort of reminded of something the old Hall of Fame general manager, George Young of the New York Giants, once told me when I said, man, you get so upset about free agency. I mean, this is how long I've been covering the game. I covered the game before there was free agency. And, you know, George Young used to say, you guys have no idea what you're talking about. This isn't baseball where you can just plug in a second baseman. You know, this is a very complex game. Every team has different plays and signals and blah, 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 blah. But, you know, honestly, when you're an edge rusher, you got one job. You know, you had one job. You know, get to the quarterback. And obviously there are different, you know, aspects of it. And I'm not saying that it's that simple. But Chase Young, you would think, should be able to come in this week and should be able to play, you know, X number of snaps and give the Niners something that they so far have been lacking. You know, I think what's also important about this game is just sort of getting back to feel good about yourselves. You can say whatever you want about, you know, you go out and you play hard no matter what and all that, but you know, the 49ers, this little self-doubt has got to be creeping in a little bit. You don't just lose without everybody thinking, man, we're not the same. So I think it's an important game for those reasons, but I also think that I might call it crucial if there were another team in the division that really caused me to stay up at night. But right now, especially with what happened with Seattle on Sunday, I mean, I think that it's pretty clear the 49ers are the clear favorites still in this division.
You know, Peter, the Niners have to get home. They've gotten a lot of pressure, but they got to get home on the quarterback, and it's difficult against these quarterbacks to get it out so fast. You've probably watched more of Chase than we have this year. You know, how close is he to the player that won Defensive Rookie of the Year coming out of Ohio State, and what kind of impact do you think he ultimately is going to make here?
The best thing that he said in his first news conference was when he talked about all the good players that the 49ers have and just sort of expecting to win. And I think if you come from a place that doesn't win and you go to a place that does, and you have great respect for the players in that place, for Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, you know, and Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead and Javon Hargrave, I'm sure that it's different than he experienced in Washington. And, you know, the one thing I would say about Chase Young as a player is that, look, he got into a situation, you know, in the last couple of years where I think it's fairly safe to say he was never as healthy as he would want to be. And I think the big question you have to ask yourself is when you are in a place that is losing and is not going to make the playoffs. I think it's a little bit different than if you're in a place that's like the 49ers and you look around and you see that not necessarily guys are playing mortally wounded, but guys are playing when maybe they're certainly not 100%. And, the expectation is the expectation. And I also think that it's really important for Chase Young to be going to a place where he has people above him, where you don't go into every game and you say, well, if we control Chase Young today, we're not going to have anything to worry about with that defense. Now, they had Young and they had Sweat. But in this particular case, I believe that he's really going to benefit from a guy like Fred Warner, from a guy like Eric Armstead, from an old friend, like Nick Bosa, because he's going to see, in the immortal words of Mike Tomlin, that the standard is the standard.
Peter King, Odyssey NFL Insider, with us here on Willard and Dibs. Larry's in for Dibs on 95.7 The Game. Peter, it's an interesting situation, and obviously whenever we talk about the defense, there's been all this discussion the last few weeks about Steve Wilks. In your history covering the league, the whole idea of being up in the booth, being down on the sideline, is this just something people talk about when a team is in a losing streak, or can that actually have an effect?
I don't think it's really very important, quite honestly. I think one of the things that you see in all different cases is where guys are during the game. Sometimes they change, sometimes they're upstairs, sometimes they're down on the field. I think the way I would look at it is this. I think it's a little bit more important for an offensive coordinator, at least from my perspective. I'd like my offensive coordinator to be down on the field, especially if the offensive coordinator is very hands-on with the quarterback. Just because in between series, with as much as you can see on the tablet from the images you get to see on the tablet, I think I would rather have the offensive coordinator on the field. Defensive coordinator, I mean, look, you see Wink Martindale of the Giants, he likes to be down on the field. Robert Saleh, when he was defensive coordinator, he liked to be down on the field. I don't really care about that, quite honestly, and I think it has almost next to nothing to do with the success or failure of a defense. But look, if they want to change that up, all the power to them. Why not? It doesn't do any harm. But it's just that if I were a coordinator and I were making the calls, I would want to be where I was most comfortable. If there was some reason why I should either be upstairs or downstairs, let's hear it. And if Kyle Shanahan thinks there's a reason, for your defensive coordinator to be in a certain place, well, he's the head coach. The defensive coordinator should listen. But at the end of the day, I really don't think it matters.
Peter King with us. And Peter, I think you know this. We absolutely hang on your every single word. And so the phone is just a slight bit garbly, so let's reconnect with Peter King, and then lots more to talk to him about for sure. Gives me an opportunity to remind you that we got another chance to play Knockout at Chase Center today in exactly an hour, okay? So you got to be listening at 4:30. We'll give you the details then. You got to listen for that window between 4:30 and 4:45. And then out of that, we will have a question for you, and you'll call in the contest line. Don't do that right now. Do not do that right now. Don't call any number right now, unless you want to call your mom. You should always call your mom. But other than that, don't call us because we're talking to Peter King. But get ready for that in an hour when we give away another shot at Knockout at Chase Center.
And, Peter is just a wealth of information. It's like this is a guy who's dialed in on every team in the league.
Well, he's actually dialed in again with us right now. So go ahead. Peter King, reboot, go ahead. Larry, 3, 2, and go.
Well, Peter, glad to have you with us. No, but appreciate you joining us, Peter. The 49ers, I mean, Brock Purdy has struggled in the last few weeks, but, man, he has looked good through most of the year. I mean, what do you think? I mean, the 49ers, they went into this bye week thinking, man, they got to kind of tinker with things a little bit. Is there anything offensively that you think the 49ers may try to do? I heard you tell Mark and Dan a couple of weeks ago that you wanted to see them kind of play some of the other players on their offense. Do you still feel the same way?
Here's my biggest thing about their offense. I love their offense, and I really like this quarterback. And the reason why I wanted other guys to play bigger roles is very, very simple. I want Deebo Samuel to be playing at or near his peak on January 15th. I don't want him to feel like he needs to play every play like it's his last in October. And that was my biggest reason for feeling the way I felt about what they should be doing right now, on offense. But I would be very excited this weekend if Deebo comes in and plays a big role, because clearly, look, the one thing that we've seen over and over again, we saw it throughout the game against San Francisco, is that for those who say Brock Purdy has a noodle arm or he doesn't have a strong enough arm, to be a really good quarterback in the NFL or to run Kyle Shanahan's offense, they're crazy. Because we've seen it over and over again. He does have a good enough arm. And that's why, to me, when I look at this team, obviously, Deebo Samuel and his presence is really, really important. I think the bye week came at a very good time for this team. But the thing I would do is I would not be altogether concerned about the number of snaps you see from Deebo Samuel. I just want to see him be healthy so that when the 49ers stand up and are counted by the end of the year, whether they get the first seed, whether they get the seventh seed, all I can say is I really don't care what seed, whether you have to play home, whether you have to play road. I don't care. If Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk are healthy, if Christian McCaffrey is healthy, I will take them in a game against anybody in the conference. Now, it'd be a tough win to beat Philadelphia. We all know that. But still, I just want to see those guys standing when it counts the most.
So, Peter, when you say that right there at the end, when the Niners are healthy, does that mean you feel like when healthy they're the best team in football?
I don't know. I really don't know, because I like Philadelphia a lot. But I do think that now that they've got another pass rusher, their defense really should be better. Their defense has been an enigma to me so far this year. And they've not been the kind of shutdown defense that I thought they would be when they got Javon Hargrave. So right now, I don't know. I think that's why you play the games. But on a given day, with their full complement of players right now, they could beat any team, and it wouldn't even remotely be an upset. But again, what we're seeing right now, we're seeing the Bengals come to the fore. We're seeing Baltimore, play great now. I think Kansas City is going to find itself. I saw that game the other day in Germany. And so I think there's a lot of good teams right now. There isn't one overwhelmingly good team. So the second half of the season is gonna do a lot to decide the order of who's really good.
Well, and it sort of gets us back to the repetitive conversation we have about quarterbacks. Like all those other teams you're talking about have very established quarterbacks. I wonder what your thought is on this, because this felt like my latest chapter of draftism. C.J. Stroud looks amazing. There's no way around it. I think he's really exciting, and his stats are crazy. And so, Now he's got 14 touchdowns and one pick. And I hear everyone go, okay, he's a star. He is an absolute future star. What I've not heard anyone say is tap the brakes, small sample size, which is what everyone did to Brock for north of 15 games. Now, one person responded to this conversation over the weekend and said, stop it. 32 out of 32 GMs would pick Stroud over Purdy. I acknowledge that might be mostly accurate, but I wonder what you think. Is that true? Would 32 out of 32 take Stroud over Purdy right now?
I don't know. He's won 4 games, and he's played great. And he looked like everything you want in a quarterback. And he's doing it with lesser weaponry than Brock Purdy has. But you had the best 3 words in your little soliloquy there when you said small sample size. And that is, I mean, there are so many things in the football media today that are discussed like they're really important. Okay. And let me ask you something. Does it mean 2 craps whether 32 general managers would take Brock Purdy or would take CJ Stroud? I will just make this point about that if Brock Purdy strings together games like he played against Dallas, all of this other stuff just doesn't matter. Maybe in an ideal world, somebody would rather have CJ Stroud than Brock Purdy. But Brock Purdy is good enough to win with, and I mean to win a championship with. So, he is what you have. He's got a great coach. He's got excellent people around him. I don't know anything else really that you would want, because look, obviously if you had a chance in an ideal world, to get a quarterback who is going to be picked at the top of the draft, you do that. But the 49ers had one of those opportunities, and they picked one of those guys at the top of the draft. And then, as almost just an insurance policy / throwaway, for the last pick of the draft, they picked somebody else. The somebody else was a lot better than the 3rd pick in the draft. And so you just simply don't know. And it's like the old Crosby, Stills and Nash song. Love the one you're with. Kyle Shanahan loves the one he's with, and I think he's absolutely right.
Peter, Niners got gashed in the run game in the preseason. 6.5 a carry against Denver, 6.5 a carry against Chargers. I asked Kyle right before week 1, I said, how concerned are you? He said, well, I don't like those numbers, but at the same time, we were number 1 against the run last year. And then they did okay in the first part of the year against the run, but they missed Saquon Barkley. Last 3 weeks, Jerome Ford ran for 4.9 a carry. Alexander Madison, 4.9 a carry. Joe Mixon, the Bengals have the worst rushing attack in football statistically. Mixon ran for 5.4 a carry. How much is the run D a concern now that Greenlaw and Warner seem like they're getting dinged up a little bit? Is that a big concern to you?
I'd be very concerned, because at the end of the day, no matter what anybody thinks of San Francisco's offense, you have to be on the field for that offense to be a factor. And you travel to Jacksonville and you play against Travis Etienne, who's one of the hottest backs in football. He's going to be fresher because he gets he's going to be healthier after a bye week. And so this is a huge part of this game. And I dare say that I think stopping Travis Etienne is as important or more so than stopping Trevor Lawrence, because Etienne, the offense, has really gone through him the previous month before their bye.
So, Peter, a little more there, right? With 5 wins in a row, Trevor Lawrence playing consistently, if not any sort of sparkling statistics. Who are the Jags? Who are the Jags, and what kind of a challenge is this for the 49ers?
Okay, so I think when you are coached by Doug Peterson, like Doug Peterson is a very, very interesting coach. And I would call him malleable in a very, very positive way. And the reason I say that is you would think Doug Peterson coached under Andy Reid. He wants to fill the air with footballs. Well, of course he does. But when I say malleable, I mean that I believe on a given day that you are going to see the Jacksonville Jaguars run it 45 times, and on a given day you'll see them throw it 40 times. And that's because I think every really good coach treats game plans like snowflakes. They're all different. Mike McDaniel is doing that absolutely now in Miami when he feels like he can run the ball, and when Raheem Mostert can do a share of gashing, he's going to do that. And I think Doug Peterson is exactly like that. And I think the one other thing about Doug Peterson is he knows that he's got a bit of old style Parcells in him. He wants to eat the clock. And I think in a game like this, you are going to see the Jaguars right away, early, try to impose their will on the 49ers in the run game. Because, look, you know and I know that the 49ers right now, even though they have been less effective than we thought they would be, they rush the passer better and will rush the passer better on Sunday, most likely, than they will stop the run. So that means to me that you're going to have your safeties in a little bit more of a run support role than maybe in an ideal world you would like to, because it cannot be 2nd and 3 all the time. If it's 2nd and 3 consistently and right now 2nd and short, the 49ers are going to lose this game. And so I think you raise an excellent point about the run defense. It's got to be better, and they've got to really make absolutely sure that ETN does not beat them in this game.
Peter, that's great stuff. And thank you as always. We already look forward to next week.
All the best, guys. Thanks a lot.
Okay, there it is. Peter King, Odyssey NFL insider, with a whole lot to chew on with regard to the 49ers and the Jaguars.